Hello and welcome back to another video today here again on Gran Turismo 7 to test out another of the brand new cars that was added at the launch of this game, which is the Ferrari F8 Tributo. So, I say brand new, but it's kind of loosely based on the 488, which is loosely based on the 458. So it's actually quite an old platform underneath, obviously much improved since that first car. It has a V8 turbo similar to the Mercedes GT AMG Black Series that we had, that I reviewed yesterday, so if you haven't gone and watched that one yet, you might want to go and check that one out first. Went up same time yesterday. It's kind of a similar performance category to this, kind of unintentionally I'm looking at these two first, but anyway, yeah, this is kind of the latest, well it's not because there's now another Ferrari, but it's the newest kind of model of Ferrari, of sort of base, normal supercar, if you like, not full-on hypercar Ferrari that we've got in any game. We don't have this in Forza yet, although it sounds like we will be getting it. But anyway, yeah, a bit about the car. It is also a V8 turbo, a bit like the Mercedes. I'm going to be comparing it to that a lot because that's the only car we've really driven, and also a GT3 RS. But anyway, it's got 710 horsepower, so 10 less than the Mercedes, but does 211 miles an hour, so, well, kind of a bit more. 9 more than the Mercedes, not really worthwhile at that speed. It's 687.89 performance points, so it's a bit more than the Mercedes. Gran Turismo obviously reckon it's a slightly better car than that. It costs £203,476 here in the United Kingdom, which means it's, well, substantially cheaper than the Mercedes, rather surprisingly. And in-game, well, it's not as much cheaper as you might think. It's 330,500 in here. So, as with the Mercedes, it's very expensive, and potentially if it's not a lot faster than the Porsche, that only costs 253,000, I might come to the conclusion, well, that this isn't really worth it over that. Anyway, on paper it is better than the Mercedes, but let's see what it's like in track. I've obviously gone for Giallo Modena, the sort of nicest, brightest yellow you can get on a Ferrari, but we'll take a look at some mods and options and things once we've taken it for a quick test drive and a fast lap of Deep Forest to see how it compares to the two previous cars that I've tested on here. So, away we go in the Ferrari for the first time. I hate this corner, I can never get things to turn in. This actually isn't too bad. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how well it does compared to the others. Slightly less track focused. This is the sort of, well, base model Ferrari, well it was, although we've now got a 6-cylinder that sits under where this would have been, but yeah, this has now been replaced with a hybrid. It didn't sit here for very long, the F8. This was sort of a, well, tribute, as you might get from the name, to this engine before they went hybrid in the next model. Oh, it's good actually, it is good. First impressions, it's better than the Mercedes or the Porsche that I've taken around here. Much cheaper than the Merc. More than the Porsche, but it is that much newer, as the Mercedes was. The Porsche's 2016 is the newest GT3 we've got in here. But yeah, this is really nice actually. I didn't want to be saying that, because I don't really like this car. I feel like it's a recycled 458. I mean, it's a lot more than that. It's increased in power and drivability and everything since then. I'd say I prefer this to the newest two. Well, range of Ferraris in terms of styling and stuff. Not a bad looking car at all. Again in here, you can see it kind of, oh, look where you're going, not at the interior. You can see it kind of still looks like a 458 in here, which I actually prefer. I really don't like the interiors of the new cars with the stupid fake manual gearbox thing in the middle. Yeah, but first impressions, it drives very, very well. So, yeah. I'm going to take it for, well, 5 faster laps and see how it does. So, if you haven't seen one of these car review style videos before, basically I take the car for 5 laps to see what the best is. I did slightly struggle with this because it kept losing traction around that final corner and I kept crashing coming onto the straight, which would then ruin the following lap time, which was a bit of a shame. I think it just doesn't I was wondering, while driving it, how it handled so well, despite not having any sort of visible aero like the Mercedes AMG did. But yeah, at some of the higher speed corners it did struggle. Traction out of the slower speed stuff, though, was pretty amazing. It did just struggle to keep stable through some of the higher speed corners, so I did lose it through there. That was the kind of main thing I noticed. But in general, this drove, well, a lot better, felt a lot nicer to drive than the GT3 RS that I took round as a benchmark and the AMG GT Black Series that I reviewed yesterday. This is, of course, higher performance points than both, by a bit, and in terms of price it falls right between them, like I said, so potentially it could be quite an interesting proposition. This it might be a better option than the Porsche, but not as expensive as the Merc. But yeah, in terms of those two, the fastest was, of course, the AMG GT Black Series that did a 139. The Porsche did also do a 139.1, they both did, but was a couple of hundredths slower. So yeah, it's interesting taking this round because it felt a lot nicer to drive, which might have helped me set a reasonable time. I think even on this lap I lost it coming through the... yeah, even on my fastest time I kind of did that, which lost me some time on the run to the line, which then meant this next lap was entirely useless. So, if we look at the conveniently embedded leaderboard that we actually have on this game, unlike Forza, you can see the F8 Tributo. Ignore the AMG GT Black Series at the top, that was my modified one, which is the time we're going to be going for in a minute once we've modified the Ferrari. But at the moment, as it sits, a 1:37.305 is, well, nearly 2 seconds faster than the Mercedes or the Porsche. Yes, it's higher performance points at 687.89, but the AMG was at 660, so it was 30 higher than the Porsche, and those both did basically the same time. When I took the Mercedes round, I did say I think that probably could have gone faster. It wasn't my best lap in that. But either way, both of them are substantially slower than the Ferrari, so far it's looking good, and I'm surprised, well, how much I'm liking this car. It does seem very good. But anyway, let's go and throw some upgrades on. What I'm going to do this time is go to GT Auto and do the visual mods first, so that then when I'm tuning it I am looking at the performance points, because the visuals do slightly mess it up otherwise. So let's go and look at what options are available at GT Auto before we modify the car and take it round again. I've just discovered it has a wide body, which, given it's a Ferrari, and they're usually really strict and against these things, that is, well, quite amazing. I don't actually think it looks very nice, and it's 100,000, so I probably won't do it, but it looks odd, doesn't it? I think it looks odd, and it's 100,000, so I'm not going to do it on this occasion. But I'm surprised it's an option, so I'm pleased it's in there, but I don't think it's particularly nice. Right, let's begin in here by looking at custom parts. We have got an extended front splitter. Which I think looks quite good, actually. I mean, even that's 15,000. Yeah, I've got extended skirts on there as well. No rear parts, that's interesting. Wing. Gonna put a lip on, or we can go, and I think I'm going to do this because one problem I found with the Mercedes is it wasn't really, well, it wasn't really handling as well as I'd have liked after the mods. I actually think medium looks the best. That kind of looks too much, and I don't like the kind of mounts holding that up as much, I don't think. Yeah, I think we need to go medium. Right, and then we've got, well, obviously we've got end plates, which is always good for, I mean, we could just go mad and put those on, but I feel like that's not really... Something a bit more plain might be nice. I quite like those. First custom wing I've fitted to a car. Yeah, I think that looks reasonable. Wheels, I might actually change on this. I always go BBS, I'm not really sure why. I mean, they always look quite good. I quite like those. I think that looks quite good, actually. Then we've got to go and see if there's any Ferrari manufacturer colours I want to buy, basically. What I need to do at some point is go in and buy, well, all the colours I like, so that they're available and we can go and look at them on this car straight away. Because what we're doing here, basically, is buying a can of paint, which we can then preview on our car after we've got it. But, yeah. Let's load up Ferrari. Ooh, actually... some of these, like the darker metallic reds, actually look really nice. Obviously there's millions of reds. Some nice oranges. We've already got a yellow on it, so there's not really much point. These are... there's no, what's the triple layer of yellow called? It's not there. That's a shame. Some nice greens. I quite like that, actually, but that's similar to the green we already own. Verde British. 500 Mondial Blue. There are some nice blues, or there's... that's the only purple, which is a little bit of a shame. Obviously I could go and find a purple, but... I think I actually prefer it in the colour it's in, if I'm honest. I think I'm just going to leave it. I do like the yellow. Anyway, let's go and see if we can make it up to 700 performance points quickly to match the Mercedes, and then see if it's as fast as that around the track. So, here goes the Ferrari on the fastest lap I managed to set. As with the stock vehicle, I took it for 5 laps around here, giving the best one here. But yeah, so far the only car we've built up is the AMG GT Black Series, which was just below 700, similar to this, getting it as close as I could. I actually put a power restrictor on this so that I could... it's running 99% of the power I put in, but just so that I could fine-tune it and make sure it was almost exactly at 700. But they were both at 699 point something, this and the Mercedes. Had a slight wobble through there, but didn't lose too much time. I was kind of surprised it didn't have more grip given the wing on the back, but I've realised the mistake I might have made is I've made, out of the two that I've tested so far, the car that handles better I've put the wing on and made handle better than it already did, and the car that was more powerful, well, faster in the straights, I think the Mercedes I made more powerful than I needed to. Anyway, there wasn't many upgrades I could get on this. It started quite near the performance points that I was aiming for, so it isn't that far off standard, but yeah, it still drove really nicely, like the standard one did, a lot nicer than the Mercedes or the Porsche that I took around previously, and doesn't look too bad with the wing on, unlike aero in games like Forza. But anyway, it felt good on this lap, all... well, put it together quite nicely. I am learning the track a bit better as well, so this potentially had a slight advantage over the car that went round yesterday, the AMG. But there we go. This brings an end to the lap. Fastest lap I set in the Ferrari. So, yes, it set a 36.1, so it was 0.4 faster than the Mercedes. I think I did build it slightly better. I kind of trusted the car more than I did with that. I think they would probably perform similarly if I'd kept the Mercedes under control, but it was hard to control. This was nice and balanced. I guess it is a mid-engine car, so the weight is potentially better balanced, although I would imagine the distribution in the Mercedes isn't too bad. But yeah, a year older, and, well, yeah, built up, it did quite well. I think I remember modified Ferraris being fast in previous older Gran Turismo games. But yeah, pleasantly surprised by the F8. Didn't think it would be... well, I didn't think I'd like it, and I didn't think it would be, well, that much faster than what is basically, well, a more track-focused car. So it did well. 136.1 tops the board. We'll see if anything can beat that if we build anything else to 700 in the future. So, well, there we go. I hate saying this because I don't really generally like Ferraris, but this is very, very good. Much better than the Mercedes I drove yesterday, which, if you haven't seen that one already, went up same time yesterday, if you want to go and check that one out. Similar style video to this, reviewing the car and then modifying it and seeing how fast it is after that as well. But yeah, did well, tops the leaderboard so far, both in the 136s though, so it'll be interesting to see if that is a good time, or if something will come in and smash that and I'll realise neither of these are actually very good. But yeah, was surprised by how fast it was standard. Yes, on paper it was better, but I didn't think by that much. And, well, it's substantially cheaper than the Mercedes, not as cheap as the Porsche was, admittedly, but I think this is worth going for over the Porsche, because it is that much faster, and modified is very good. I do need to modify a Porsche to see what that is like as well, maybe at some point. But, yeah, very good. Very good, the Ferrari. Very good stock, faster than the Mercedes modified, and yeah, pleasantly surprised, because I thought it was basically based on quite an old car at this point, but did very, very well. So yeah, would recommend going and picking up an F8 Tributo if you're playing Gran Turismo and you're looking for, well, something reasonably fast for not loads of money. It's 300 and something thousand. So it's more than the Porsche by a bit, but quite a lot cheaper than the Mercedes. But there you go. I do very much like this car, rather surprisingly, because it's not a car, well, I liked before I drove it on here, basically. Drives very nicely, looks quite good, not too bad anyway. Has some cool kind of aero and bits. Has a wide body if you want to wide body it, although I don't think it actually looked very good. But yeah, overall, very good little car. Did enjoy driving this one. But that is going to do it for a first look at the Ferrari. Do let me know if you're enjoying these review style videos of cars on Gran Turismo 7, because there's plenty of other new vehicles we can take a look at. Maybe some comparisons we can do between a couple of vehicles. But yeah, planning plenty more of these. Lots of other cars I'd like to try out on here. But for the Ferrari, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next video very soon.